Hello, everyone. I'm Praminda Caleb-Solly. I'm a professor of assistive robotics and intelligent health technologies here at the Bristol Robotics Lab in the University of the West of England. And you can see an image of me in the top right-hand corner of your screen. The reason you can see me up there is because I am on a Telepresence robot, and we are actually in the Bristol Robotics Lab. This is our assisted living studio, and as part of our research here in the Bristol Robotics Lab, we're working on developing socially and physically assistive robots to support people with activities of daily living. And in this disability rights and robotics project, we are starting from disabled people's rights and asking, how can robotics technology support everyday rights to participate in all aspects of life to the fullest? We have designed this space as a typical apartment, so we can set up and run our experiments with our robots in realistic settings. So to start off with, I'm first going to give you a quick tour of the studio, and then I will introduce you to Alex, who is our researcher somewhere around, and the robots and other smart technology that we're using. So let's start by going on a tour of the space. So here we go. We are moving into the middle of the space between the living room. There we go. Pepper is there, the socially assistive robot, and I'll introduce you to Pepper later. And there's the kitchen dining area. And we're going to go forward a bit. And let's wait. You can see that's the bedroom. We're going to go in there later. Let's try and make our way into here. There's a bathroom. And the reason we're going in here, oh, excuse us, Mr. Woody. We'll only be a moment. The reason why we're going into this space is because there's a mirror. And as you can see, the reflection in the mirror, that's what the Telepresence robot that I'm driving around looks like. So at the top is a screen, and you can see a picture of me on the screen. So the people in this space with the robot could imagine that I was there with them, except that my body is a pole, and at the base of the pole is a balancing barrel, a Segway, with two wheels on either side, and that helps to move around. And I use my keyboard and mouse, and I can move forward, backward, left or right, like this. Or, as you will see, I can select a spot to move to. And then this Telepresence robot finds its way through the door without bumping into anything. So let's go back into the living room. And actually, this is a good demonstration of what makes this Telepresence robot a robot. It's using sensors that can detect obstacles. So if I change the screen to showing you what its obstacle map looks like, you can see there on the bottom left-hand side of the screen, things are showing up as obstacles. So it's using cameras and lasers to identify where the obstacles are, and then it can navigate around them. So I'm going to go back in here and make my way into the living room. Aha, here's Alex. Hi, Alex.
Hello, Praminda.
So Alex is our researcher here in the Bristol Robotics Lab. He's a software engineer and he works on everything, really. Alex can make anything work. And Alex is going to help us find out what Pepper, you can see this robot here, what Pepper can do. And Pepper is a social robot. That means that Pepper can learn or be taught to interact in a social manner. And this kind of robot, the Pepper robot, is also called a humanoid robot because it has a body and a head and arms like a human. So let us see some social interaction. So if Alex touches Pepper's head, Pepper is programmed to sense that touch and react.
I'm ticklish today.
So did you hear that? Pepper said, I'm ticklish today. So what else can we do? Pepper has also got cameras and a laser hidden behind what looks like its eyes. And it uses machine vision to track people's faces. So let's see how Pepper, if I move back a bit, then Alex can go in front of Pepper and catch Pepper's attention. And you'll see Pepper is tracking Alex's face as he moves around towards the back of the room. There you go. So Pepper is a good example of such a typical robot. A robot is a machine that has sensors to get information about what is happening around it or to it, like the sensor we saw on its head or the microphone it's using to listen to sound. And it responds to things people say. So if Alex speaks to Pepper.
Speak louder.
I've turned up my volume.
Hello, Pepper.
Hello, human.
How are you? How are you?
I'm always feeling good. Thank you. How's it going?
I'm good, thanks.
So both of us are doing really good.
So there was a little bit of social interaction. Thanks, Alex. And then, so based on the data that it gets, in this case, it was Alex speaking to it, the robot can plan what it needs to do next. So what it needs to say or how it needs to respond based on how it interprets the data it gets from the sensors. In this case, the sensor was the microphone. And this is where it uses artificial intelligence to decipher the data from the sensors and then make a decision on what to do next. And then it takes an action. So the action was it responded or replied to the speech interaction that Alex was having with it. So we are developing robots like Pepper here to act as a person's personal assistant or coach, particularly if they need some extra support or reminders. So Pepper can provide personalized assistance exactly when and where someone needs it. So we'll see a little demonstration of this. So imagine if Pepper needs to give Alex some important instructions about his medicines. Pepper needs to give this instruction exactly when it'll be most relevant to Alex. Now, this studio is filled with wireless sensors that can detect events such as somebody moving around in the room or opening and closing the drawers or cupboards. So I'm going to zoom in now and let me just set the view so you can see what I'm showing you. On the side here of this drawer, you can see these two white sensors.
Hello.
Now they are magnetic contact sensors, which means that if Alex opens the drawer, the magnetic contact's broken, and then that triggers an event. So what's going to happen is Alex is going to open the drawer and pick up a medicine bottle. Now this bottle also has a motion sensor on it. And listen carefully to what Pepper says when this happens. Alex, would you like to please open the drawer now, please?
The medication drawer has been opened. Those tablets shouldn't be taken on an empty stomach.
There you go. So thanks, Alex. So that was Pepper providing the right information to Alex so he remembers not to take those medicines on an empty stomach. So this studio is fitted with lots of different sensors. These wireless sensors help the robot understand what the person who might be living in such a space might be doing and using this information to provide the right support at the right time. So I'm going to zoom in to another sensor, which is a motion sensor on top of this cabinet here. And you can see this little round ball. And that sensor can detect movement in the room. It can also pick up light levels, and it can pick up the temperature and also how much battery is left. And all of that information could be used by a doctor to be able to find out if the person was not very well. If, for example, it was detected that they weren't moving as much as they normally did, or if
Hello.
so you can see here a dashboard with lots of information, which is the status of the different sensors in the room, and also if we can just about make out the fridge there, and if Alex goes and opens the fridge, you should see the status of that changing. So Alex, if you could open the fridge, please. And Pepper will give a reminder to Alex when he opens the fridge as well. So listen out for that.
There's some soup Lucy made for you yesterday.
So you can't actually read that because the resolution of the camera is not that good at the moment, but it says open at the bottom there. And then when it's closed, it should go back to closed. And this data is collected and stored and then can be used later for all sorts of different applications to support somebody. So now we're going to say bye to Pepper. Oh, before we say bye to Pepper, I just want to show you something else that Pepper can do. So I'm just going to move over to this middle space there. And being a social robot, we try and get Pepper to behave in a way that's fun and engaging so that it can entertain someone or, like a personal coach, encourage people to stay active. Alex, would you like to demonstrate Pepper's skills as a dance instructor, please?
Sure. Show me a dance.
I like this song.
Thanks, Alex. So that was Pepper being a dance instructor, and as you can see, this could be a lot of fun. So now we've seen a socially assistive robot. Let's see some physically assistive robots. Now here in the kitchen, we have the Jayco Arm. Now this is a robot arm with a gripper attached to the end of it. There you can see the gripper. It looks like a hand so that it can grasp and pick up things. Now we have suspended it from the ceiling. It is attached to a hoist track so it can move around the room. A ceiling-based robot like this could help someone who might be using a wheelchair to be able to just use their voice and control a robot so they can instruct it to do physically assistive tasks, such as perhaps stir some sauce that's on the hob, or be able to pick up something from the kitchen counter and bring it to them in the dining room. For a robot to be able to pick up any object, so whatever is lying around correctly and safely, it needs to know how to do that, what to do with it, how heavy is it, how should it pick it up so it doesn't put too much force, so it doesn't break, for example. And this still requires a lot of technical development and research. But a quicker way to put these kinds of robots into action is to get someone to control them remotely. Or, for example, a person could teleoperate it just using voice commands if they wanted or needed to. So recently, we have started to focus more on using robots to provide physical assistance. However, when you think about all the different types of tasks that people might require physical assistance with, you soon realize that for different tasks, you're probably going to need a different kind of robot, one that is best suited to the physical task that it needs to perform. So, for example, if I needed help with cleaning or cooking and washing, or helping me to walk around or turn in bed if I was too frail to move, then it's clear that a different type of robot arm or hand would be required. So this is where we started to think about the design of these robots in a way that perhaps they could be modular. So based on the type of task or function they performed, it would be nice, we thought, if we could just change this end effector here. And so changing this end effector could mean that maybe we could help somebody to do another task, help them to walk or pick up something more heavy or do the dusting or the vacuuming. So you can imagine something like this is like a Swiss Army knife where you just change the end effector or the function of the robot depending on what task it needs to perform. So let's go into the bedroom now to see another version of this robot that can help people to stand. So making our way into the bedroom, just going to go a bit closer so we can get a good view. Oh, we'll see the screen there and I'll explain some of the stuff about the data. So here is Alex, and this is the Chiron sit to stand robot. As you can see, it's also attached to ceiling hoist tracks, but on this end, it is designed so that it has stable hand support on which somebody can lean as it moves up and across, helping them up and out of bed, and also perhaps walking by themselves to the toilet or to the living room or to answer the door. Alex, could you please give us a demonstration of this? Thanks.
Hey Google, I'm on the bed.
Okay, I'm sending Chiron to you now. Be careful as it moves. You can adjust the hand grips so they're in a comfortable position.
So Alex there used the Google Home Assistant to use, so we use that to have voice commands, which can then be used to control the robot.
Hey Google, I'm ready to stand.
Okay, ready, steady, stand.
So there you can see the robot is slowly rising up and Alex is leaning on it, and that's helping him to stand up. There you go. This robot looks a bit clunky. It's our very first prototype, but it also looks the way it is because we've designed it to be really strong enough to be able to support the weight of a person. And it has a number of sensors to be able to sense that somebody is leaning on it, whether they're holding on to it and how much force they're putting on it, or if they're losing their balance and falling. And it also has cameras and all of this data. We use all of this data. Let me show you some of this data on the screen here to be able to help the robot operate safely and autonomously in real world situations and be able to react to new situations in a predictable way. So on this screen, you can see some images of Alex there. If you put his hands up, you will see these are images from a thermal imaging camera. And we've also got a depth camera over here, which is able to map the environment and obstacles in it in 3 dimensions. And on this end, let me see if I can get a bit closer to the screen and be able to see some graphs there. And this is the data from force cells, which are mounted on the robot. So all of this information, we are designing machine learning algorithms that can detect what's going on, who's holding on to the system, if they are balanced, if they're ready to stand up, and then help them up and out of bed safely. So that was a physically assisted robot. Thanks for that demonstration, Alex. We're going to go back into the living room now. And I'm going to end this tour and go on to a question and answer session. But before I do, I just want to say a little bit more about this telepresence robot that I'm using to move around the space. So using this telepresence robot, I could visit this studio from anywhere in the world, anywhere that has an internet connection. And in fact, there is a robot just like this, at the Saatchi Gallery at the moment. It is part of one of our Arts and Humanities Research Council projects, Disability and Community. And it's being used by people who are socially isolated and still in lockdown to visit the gallery. In fact, some schools have used these types of robots so that children who are ill or vulnerable to getting infections can still attend school and move around the classroom with their friends. So you can see there are lots of different applications for robots. And I hope that this tour has got you thinking about the different ways in which robots and sensors can be used together to help people in many different ways. So I'm sure you've got a lot of questions. So I'm going to end the tour now and go on to the question answer session. Thank you for joining me today. Bye-bye.